science that I didn't get into yet, but as I said, the diagnosis you make in medicine only when you have enough science, and then you come up with the right healing, and the person gets well. Now, what I want to say is that there are two types of reincarnation. One is called the real reincarnation, and the other is the landmark reincarnation.
Is that kind of what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're referring probably to that when you're talking about the energetic field. Like, for instance, I used to be a Levi at the time of Moses, and I thought I'm Elkanah, which was one of the sons of a great Levi there.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's been with Jesus. Like, you know, I mean, everybody.
But I wasn't Elkanah.
Right.
I was just borrowing his name because I was in his tribe. So that's a landmark reincarnation.
So that kind of explains that some people may have had Egyptian lifetimes, and then that's why they relate to that figure of Cleopatra.
Believe me, I've done in 30 years of experience with past life regression about 5,000 individual cases, and I haven't run into more than John Doe and Jane Doe most of the time.
Okay.
So it's not like the
no, that
celebrities
is somewhat
don't have
reassuring
right.
to me because
Yeah.
you hear
But very
people.
disappointing.
But
to them.
celebrities have
Right, exactly.
Celebrities have the right to reincarnate too, like anyone else. So let's face it. So it happens that I based my findings on many signs, and one of them was in the end. It was obviously the coincidences, which were hundreds of them.
Right.
And then there was the email and my assessment as a psychiatrist that she's genuine, she's not lying. And it was Atun Re, the famous spirit channeled by Kevin Ryerson, the psychic of Shirley MacLaine. And he confirmed the same thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And one of the coincidences worth mentioning is that I did a past life regression on myself about 8 years ago, and I found out that I was somebody by the name of Antoine d'Aquin, a noble doctor at the court of King Louis XIV, and I was taking care of Louise de la Vallière, that was very sick. She was dumped by the king after 6 years of being his first mistress. And I was attending to her in a convent where she took the vow of celibacy because of what happened and was very depressed. And she was bordering on schizophrenia. And with the same method, Atun Re is telling me that I'm working now, I worked then. And I knew Kabbalah at that time because I was Jewish. They like Jewish doctors, so the king hired me. And I was his doctor for 23 years. Okay. And I had a very bad experience when I visited 3 weeks ago Paris. I was in the Versailles Palace, and I went into the bedroom of the king with my wife, and all of a sudden I felt like fainting. And I said, Shula, that's my wife's name, hold my hand. I felt like falling. And I looked at that place, and all of a sudden it came to me, like in flashes, my visiting the king every day in the morning, because there you don't do a checkup in 6 months, you do it every day for the king. So every day in the morning I would watch him. And I had a bad experience because after 23 years being his personal principal doctor, and he has become so friendly with me. I mean, we're very good friends. Imagine, every day.
Right.
So, and he betrayed me. How he betrayed me? He was paranoid because as a child, at 5, he became the king. His own mother wanted to suffocate him to take over the reign. Okay? And since then, he was very paranoid. And his third mistress, Madame de Maintenon, told him lies about me, that I used my position to advance my son and so forth. So he wanted to fire me. So he fired me. He didn't trust me. And this time, I know him because he reincarnated into a businessman in Holland. And he apologized to me profusely and explained to me what happened. And he said when he visited Louvre, he had a similar experience of fainting, maybe karma. Louvre was the palace of his mother. So every time he would visit there, I'd feel like fainting. So he was referred to a past life regressionist. He found out that his mother tried to strangle him. So he resolved that problem. But I just wanted to interject that Louise de la Vallière happens to be the reincarnation, later on, she reincarnated into Marilyn Monroe, and later on into Sherry Lillard.
Gotcha.
So there has been
Sherry
a relationship.
Lillard contacted me the first time. I didn't look for her.
But you had the connection.
Yeah, she found me to work out some karmic thing, to bring me to the fore, because I helped her very much in that life. That's why she recommended me to the king.
Okay.
Very interesting. Mark, let's take this out a little bit further. I know one of the things that I wanted to explore, and one of the things that Dr. Finkelstein mentioned as we began the regression, was not only could I visit my past lives, but I could also visit my future lives, which really brings in the whole aspect of our perception of time and, you know, who are we? What is the nature of our beings? And what is this illusion of time? And perhaps you'd like to frame that question a little bit better, Mark.
I don't know. As you're describing all this intricacy, it's amazing on one level. On another level, I'm seeing this gigantic being that you stretched to the beginning of existence itself. And this is a relatively, you know, it's a mundane thing. As cool as it is, as interesting as it is, as fascinating as it is, which it is. There's another broader expansion of self that's taking place in the now and in our future. And to me, the question is, to reframe it a little bit, how can the past inform our now? Because now is where we are thriving, growing, and perhaps permanently leaving behind our past stories, because we have to. To a certain degree, we cannot be the person that's connected to the person that's connected, to have that full breath that Eckhart Tolle would want us to have, or that Oprah even would want us to have, at least this week. So there has to be a more Catholic, and I mean in the widest sense, a more rapacious desire to live in the now. So how I heartily concur, and I had a gas and an amazing experience. I mean, I spent so much time visiting this one fella. I mean, always back, it was obsessional. And then I went to another woman. I wanted to know what my mother, father, every key person was. There was a certain point where I kind of got it. I kind of got the frameworking. And that was like, that's really interesting. And what I was left with, go ahead.
And then what did it do for you?
It just gave me a wider sense of self and a broader sense of confidence to explore the fuller potentiality of what I was.
Did it clear up any of the questions that you had?
Well, you know, I wasn't going particularly feeling that I was really missing something, or I was more of just an innate curiosity, at least in my particular case.
It
was just so fascinating.
It is
why you would feel it. And frankly, I was on an acid trip once, and I just started playing the piano, and I couldn't understand it because I'd never played the piano before. And it was the drugs, it turned out. No, but the thing was, after that, I began to play, and that was like an experience of some access to music before. And I knew that, and I couldn't argue with myself about that. So that sort of was one of the things that triggered it. But I mean, I have spent time, my wife, at a much less professional level than yourself, took an introductory hypnosis course, went and did the practicum in interactive guided imagery, which is a fascinating Rogerian sort of form of communicating. There's with some two local people here that started one form of it, and it had been recommended by Dr. Weil, where one just, in a very passive respect, speaks to one's own higher self about developmental possibilities. And it can come through any series of symbols and that sort of thing. So I did want to try and move things a little bit into this wider sense.
Right, and also into the sense of this question about time, the reality of time, and how you see that, given that we're able to not only go into the past, but also go into the future.
You see, as they